Throughout the years, Tarlac State University has been the front-runner in providing quality education in the Tarlac province. From its inception in 1899, TSU managed to rise up to the challenge, showcase resiliency, sustain what has been gained, and collectively move to achieve its present success. In 1899, Honorable Emilio Aguinaldo founded the Científico-Literaria Universidad de Filipinas in Tarlac as the forerunner of Tarlac State University. During the following years, the institution underwent several developments and changes, and in 1989, through Republic Act 6764, it was renamed as Tarlac State University. With 3 campuses in Tarlac City, the main campus, Lucinda Extension Campus, and San Isidro Extension Campus, TSU further extends its reach with the new Capas Campus, all offering the ideal environment for students with modern equipment, space for recreation, first-class faculty, and most importantly, an established organizational structure that ensures caliber teaching, opening paths that lead students to a brighter future. TSU aims for excellence and enhanced competence by instilling insightful information to the students, who are the face and pride of the institution, and constantly produces top-notchers and globally competitive graduates that adds credibility to the high teaching standards of the university. TSU is home to 10 recognized and accredited colleges that cover architecture and fine arts, arts and social sciences, business and accountancy, criminal justice education, computer studies, engineering and technology, public administration and governance, science, teacher education, school of law, which all consistently bring pride and glory to the university. TSU strives for quality by providing an outstanding learning system. As a member of the accrediting agency of Chartered Colleges and Universities in the Philippines Incorporated, TSU is offering 100% AACUP accredited programs and has been awarded with a Level 2 institutional accreditation. TSU is currently evaluated as SUP Level 3 by the Commission on Higher Education and has been appraised through the Institutional Sustainability Assessment in 2019. TSU is the first state university in the country to achieve the Integrated Management System certification awarded by the United States Accreditation Services. It covers 3 areas, namely ISO 9001-2015, Quality Management System, ISO 14001-2015, Environment Management System, OSAS 18001-2007, Occupational Health and Safety Management Series. TSU promotes unity by prioritizing the development of the students, teaching them the real essence of teamwork through various activities and events. This enables students to meet, have fun, foster camaraderie, and express sportsmanship. TSU values integrity and advocates involvement through embracing creative minds, making it possible for the institution's researchers to innovate patent-worthy creations and studies that will contribute to the steps taken by the university in making its vision come to life. The university has a 10-point research agenda, which are anchored on international, national, and regional research priority areas. The name Tarlac State University and its seal are now trademarked under the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines. As a partner, TSU provides protection and incentives to encourage the development of new knowledge and its transfer for public benefit under the Technology Development Transfer Commercialization Office. TSU also commits itself to the community development programs through its extension support services. These include project development and implementation, non-formal education, professional trainings and seminars, consultancy, coaching and monitoring services, and technology transfer services. TSU maintains strong partnerships with local leaders of Tarlac, namely Governor Susan Yap, Mayor Christy Angeles of Tarlac City, Mayor Reynaldo Catacutan of Capas, and Mayor Andy Lacson of Concepcion. Their continuous participation in numerous TSU-related endeavors truly helps in the growth and development of the university. TSU trusts in God and upholds transparency and true commitment, maintaining excellent governance, making it possible for TSU to achieve its goals and obtain awards for well-structured management system. As such, TSU bears the transparency seal and makes information accessible through the Tarlac State University website with computerized enrollment, accounting and payroll services, document management system, and office communicator. TSU has adopted technological innovation and digitalization, resulting in smarter and more efficient ways of obtaining, disseminating, and retaining information. Tarlac State University is committed to nurturing students' capabilities, gearing them with skills that will help them thrive in their chosen career paths. TSU is propelled with advanced facilities, technology and infrastructures, stimulating development and growth, and enabling students to learn in a convenient and comfortable environment. One of the outstanding features of TSU is the Museo Archivo Tarlaqueño that houses old archives and objects kept or collected because of their historical interest. Tarlac State University plans to build a 3-story dormitory building that can house 500 students. TSU yearns for global competitiveness, cultivating linkages with regional, national, and international centers of learning while honing the talents and skills of the students. Tarlac State University's core values help form a strong foundation which binds all 4 walls of the institution and serves as a home where greatness can flourish. Rising above its challenges, soaring high, committing to excellence, contributing to the development of every learner, and catering to their constant thirst for knowledge. Tarlac State University is undoubtedly on its way to reaching its vision of being a premier university in the Asia-Pacific region.
As stated in the United Nations Chronicle, information and communications technology is deeply woven into the fabric of society and is integral to the way we do business, entertain ourselves, talk to each other, learn about the world, and even feed ourselves. For us to know more of this, the Tarlac State University College of Computer Studies, in partnership with the United Nations Asian and Pacific Training Center for Information and Communication Technology for Development, ESCOP, bring you this international lecture series about ICT, sustainable development, and new normal. This is Fatima, your host for this webinar. Let us start this fruitful day with a prayer followed by the singing of our national anthem and a short background video of UNAP CICT.
Dear God, we glorify you for all the blessings you have bestowed upon us. We are truly grateful for them. Thank you for allowing us today to meet and share our knowledge and time with one another virtually. May you send forth your divine wisdom to our speaker as he impart effectively his God-given gift to all of us. May he be blessed as he continue to share his expertise to the people who needs him. Bless the participants as well so that they would be able to obtain vital information from this activity. May you send forth your Holy Spirit so that after this webinar, we may share what we learned in the spirit of your love and generosity, especially during these trying times. May we be able to bring glory to you, Lord, in everything that we do. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiliw, telos ng sigatanan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagagang tutok sa simulan, sa langit ang pangaw, ay nilagang tulang, awit sa paglayang ikaw. Ang isang ng patawad mo'y tagumpay na nag-iindig, ang bituin at araw na kailan, ang may di magdidilig. Luman ang araw ng walhagin pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang hindi kaya ng pagkay mga amin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo. Information and Communication Technology. We call this ICT. ICTs have revolutionized the way we live and view our world. ICTs give us the power to explore new horizons, connect with others, and innovate our everyday lives. The way we learn, the way we communicate, the way we care for each other. ICTs are opening new doors. However, the doors are not open to all. Not everyone can afford a mobile phone. Not everyone lives in a place where connectivity is available. Not everyone knows how to fully benefit from digital technologies. We call this the digital divide. This divide separates people, so they cannot communicate with each other and cannot work together towards building a better society. We believe bridging the digital divide and harnessing the potential of ICT is a critical element for connected, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable development. That's why we put our hands together and join our hearts. That is why APC ICT was created. with a vision for a digitally inclusive, empowered, and sustainable world through ICT human capacity development. APC ICT was established on June 16, 2006, and has become the hub of ICT human capacity development to serve Asia and the Pacific. We have developed 3 flagship programs for vital knowledge on ICT for development. The Academy of ICT Essentials for Government Leaders program for government officers, academics, and policymakers. The Turning Today's Youth into Tomorrow's Leaders program for students and youth. The Women and ICT Frontier Initiative for women entrepreneurs. Demonstrating strong ownership, many countries have institutionalized APC ICT's flagship programs. The Academy is rolled out in 30 countries, reaching over 30,000 participants. The Primer series is rolled out in 14 countries, reaching over 24,000 participants. These programs are enhancing capacity to use ICT for sustainable development in Asia Pacific and beyond. Through the APC ICT Virtual Academy, the program reaches anyone, anywhere, anytime. For better knowledge sharing and exchanges of ideas and experiences, APC ICT's e-Collaborative Hub hosts over 1,100 resources, including APC ICT knowledge products, such as the Knowledge Sharing Series, the Case Study Series, and the Briefing Note Series, among others. These accomplishments have not been achieved alone. With strong support from the host country, the Republic of Korea, and active participation from member states, we develop, implement, and deliver. We did it in partnership. By putting our hands together and joining our hearts as we overcome barriers to create a better and united world. We have a hope to enhance our humanity through a connected world, to provide opportunity to learn and participate in shaping our shared future, to achieve progress that benefits all people, to promote equal rights for all, with APC ICT, let's transform our hope into reality.
Thank you, everyone. For an opening message, may we have the Vice President for Administration and Finance and the concurrent Dean of the College of Computer Studies, Dr. Marlon V. Gamido.
Good morning. The Asian and Pacific Training Center for Information and Communication Technology for Development, or APC-ICT, was inaugurated in 2006 as a regional institute of Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, or ESCAP. It is located in Incheon, Republic of Korea. Guided by the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and other internationally agreed development goals, the center's objective is to build and strengthen the capacity of members and associate members of ESCAP to leverage information and communication for the purpose of socio-economic development. The APC-ICT's work is focused on training, knowledge sharing, and multi-stakeholder dialogue and partnership. Tarlac State University was a country representative to a couple of partners meeting and dialogue with AP-CICT to develop contents and strategies of the training materials freely available for use. Some of these modules were integrated to the courses of the academic programs of the college. These are Introduction to ICT for Development, Project Management and ICTD, ICT for Disaster Risk Management, ICT, Climate Change and Green Growth, and Exploring Social Media Role in Development, to name a few. It is with great privilege that during the 114th founding anniversary of Tarlac State University, in partnership with the Office of the Vice President for Academic Affairs and the International Affairs Services of the university, and with the support of UN APCICT, bring you this timely and relevant lecture in ICT, sustainability, and new normal. TSU is grateful to Robert De Jesus, the program officer, and the whole APCICT, and to Professor Fahim Hussein for accepting this engagement. We hope that this engagement will bring us to an awareness of the ICT's role in development and sustainability. Finally, let us bridge the digital divide. Let us continue to sustainability and development.
Thank you, sir. And to start the ball rolling and to formally introduce our resource speaker, let us welcome Dr. Nicolas Z. Diaz Jr., the College International Affairs Services Coordinator.
Thank you, Professor Stein, for giving me the opportunity to introduce our international resource speaker. Good morning to everyone. Our speaker for this morning has over 15 years of experience conducting socio-economic development and technological interventions related research in Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, and North America. He brings subject matter expertise in the intersection of information and communication technology, or ICT, with women's empowerment, refugees, digital afterlife, and public policy. He is currently working as a clinical assistant professor in the School for the Future of Innovation in Society at the College of Global Futures of Arizona State University. He received his PhD in engineering and public policy from Carnegie Mellon University. Besides academia, he works as an ICT 4D expert in projects with UN APCICT, USAID, and other international development agencies. He is also a senior sustainability scientist in the School of Sustainability at Arizona State University. And now to give the floor to the highlight of this event, without further ado, I give you now Dr. Fahim Hussein.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nicholas. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir,
Yes.
loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. I had the opportunity of working with different of my colleagues from Philippines. And so I'm excited. I wish I could be there in person, but that's not the case. So thank you so much to APCICT for making this opportunity. So in terms of the presentation, let's go through that. I would like to have interaction with all of you. So I would need the participation from all of you here while I'm talking. So from my end, Sir Marlon, can I share the slide?
Yes, sir.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so ICTs, sustainable development, and the new normal. And this is going to be the conversation we're going to have today. And as we know, it's been almost a year since the whole world is kind of upside down. And there are so many challenges that we are going through, but at the same time, there are some interesting opportunities. Through this conversation, what I will do is I will highlight some of the basic tenets of ICTs, focus on a bit on sustainable development. Then I'll talk a bit more on education and innovation, and definitely a lot of challenges. And then I will try to push further in the future, because Kerala State University is one of those leading premier universities looking up to the future. It will be interesting to have some ideas shared with you as we are looking into it from an FSC ICT point of view, and also definitely from Arizona State University. So very briefly, just wanted to position myself where I'm coming from as a researcher, as a practitioner, and as a teacher. The core part of my research, the core part of my interest area are with ICTs and sustainable development. When we talk about sustainable development, I'm mainly interested with education for marginalized communities. I'm very much interested with innovations, ICT innovations, specifically in the communities with resource scarcity. I'm definitely interested in public policy, which kind of helps us with our innovation and inclusion and justice. I've been working, as Sir Nicholas talked about it, in different parts of the world, primarily in Asia Pacific, Sub-Saharan Africa, and definitely in North America. So let's first talk about, go through a poll, which is very important to me. And it's also going to be something I promise I will come back to it. Do you remember where is the first computing device you have ever used? Where is it right now? It can be a personal computer, it can be a laptop, mobile phone set, digital camera, your Fitbit, whatever. Do you know, do you remember where did you put it or where it is right now? The first computing device you have ever used. Please participate in this poll. It's going to be very, very important. So Marlon, how long we're taking it for a minute?
We're done here.
So I'm not seeing how many people participated here. Are we done? Okay. 44% saying they know where they kept it. 39% some ideas. 17% absolutely have no idea. That's very good. And I will come back to that because I belong to the 17%. I absolutely have no idea where my first computer is. And that is something that can bite me back. So we'll talk about it. Keep that in mind that we'll visit that. So let's talk about Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. There are 17 of them. We talk about zero poverty, zero hunger. We talk about good health, quality education, definitely gender equality, and so many other things are there. We address climate change. We talk about global cooperation. We talk about sustainable use of water, communities, responsible consumption of different resources. And very interesting thing is when we look into the Asia Pacific region, to be specific, there are so many emerging economies with so much of promises. But at the same time, unfortunately, we also see a lot of disconnection when it comes to development. And SDGs are some of the goals, the benchmarks that we should look up to achieve those in order to make sure that we have a sustainable future, we have an equitable future that can ensure everybody's inclusion. And ICTs, information and communication technology, has a cross-cutting application when it comes to SDGs. And we'll talk a bit about that in a bit later. But while we look into ICTs, there are also a lot of risks that come within if you do not use it properly. So that's something to look into. Now, let's also look into where we are. This is January 2020. I can bet things have changed a bit with COVID and global shutdown. But imagine this, where we are right now. We are talking about a world where 55% of the global population are living in some urban settings. We are talking about 67% unique mobile phone users, 5 billion plus. We're talking about almost 5 billion internet users. We're looking at the penetration of 60%. Right? And when it comes to social media, we are also looking into almost 50% when it comes to 3.8 billion active social media users. Now imagine with COVID, with this global pandemic, all of us being pushed in the digital world, whether we want it or not, these numbers are actually on the rise. So why we are talking about it, especially when we know, like imagine, the Philippines is a very much connected society. All the young people are online or at least connected through mobile phones. But at the same time, it's very important for us to know, because when we talk about, imagine these SDGs, and we are talking about our human resource development, when we talk about policies, it's very important that we keep this situation in mind, in consideration, that connectivity needs to be resulting in productivity. Connectivity in equitable way. Connectivity in a way that does not create new digital divide. That's something we need to understand. So what are ICTs? What do we mean by these? Information and communication technology, does it only mean social media? Does it only mean mobile phones? No, it actually encompasses a wide range of multimedia and communication tools. We are looking into actually old medias like radio, television, the land telephones, if you can remember that. And then the new media networks. We're talking about fixed or wireless internet, hardware. We are then talking about mobile phones, smartphones or feature phones, tablets, laptops. But not just the hardware itself, we're also looking into the software devices, where we're like platforms, social media, different applications, mobile applications. That's like totally changed the way we look into things. So when we talk about information and communication technology, my request to you would be that whenever you are talking to people as experts, when you're talking to people as the expert users, please make sure to also convey the message that it has a wide range. It's just not the high-end technologies we are talking about. So very quickly, let's go through some of the sectors that we are concerned with and how we see ICT plays a role. And these are all related with the SDGs that we have talked about before. Mobile phones that can facilitate and improve when we talk about agriculture and food security. Philippines is one of the leaders when you talk about agro-industry and technologies, right? We look into the circulation of information. We talk about farmers' access to public information. We talk about coordination with supply chains. That became so crucial, right? In this global pandemic, the whole traditional supply chain, as we know, broke down. Then how do we come back from it? How do we access information? How do we connect with people? Data collection and the linkages are very, very crucial. And for that, we need ICT. And then, of course, access to financial services. That's one of the most critical things to look into if we are seriously looking for socio-economic change at the base of the pyramid. Agriculture and food security, beyond the traditional ICT, we are also looking into IoT, Internet of Things, sensors, drones and crop monitors, RFID sensors, machine learning, and different data analytics. These are also very, very important. But at the same time, when we talk about innovation, it's also important to know that whether we are just looking for technology itself, or we are looking for the solutions and then designing technologies. That's very important. In academia, we call it tech determinism, that we are so much in love with ICTs that we forget what is the problem, and who are the users. We are just amazed by the shiny ICT applications. That never should be the case. And this is where sometimes we see different agricultural innovations with ICTs are failing to measure demands, usage, cost effectiveness, mechanism, things like that. And that's where I think these regional universities, the national universities, the education leaders like you guys should come in and take lead in the innovation part of it, because you guys definitely have way better understanding when it comes to what is needed for the society. So there should be a coordination between supply side and demand. Then let's talk about access to information and politics, democracy, human rights, governance. We are talking about the age of fake news. We are talking about the age of deep fake and how we are going to then deal with these things, and how we can have access to information and ensure that we can actually also express our, our democratic practices, our democratic opinion, political opinions. So access to information is critical. Access to effective information is even more critical. And when we talk about political activism, it's very important for us to know that there is a connection between what we are doing online and what we are doing in the real world. Otherwise, there is an expression we call clicktivism that can happen. And definitely the citizens' participation in all the valid political activism is very crucial to also ensure the sustainable development goals. So that's actually go hand in hand with the electronic and mobile governance. So that's also something for us to look into. What we have seen so far, that there are a lot of censorship. We also look into a lot of gender disparity. We look into a lot of breach of privacy if we are not aware of those things. And that's something as the education leaders, that's something as tech leaders that the people, the students of this amazing university and the leaders, the educators, they should take it forward when we talk about how we can effectively use the the different online platforms, offline platforms using ICTs. Then let's talk about economic growth. Remember if we are talking about agriculture and financial services, right? And this is where things can be very interesting. Because when we talk about money transactions, and this is now going further, we are talking about financial technology or fintech, we're talking about blockchain. There are so many things. The whole idea is we completely get rid of the traditional bureaucracies so that the base of the pyramid, the people who matters, can have access to the financial the benefits, and then that can help them to create their own future. APC ICT's Wi-Fi module, when we talk about women's ICTs Frontier Initiative, this is where we had shared different interesting examples of how ICTs can be used for betterment of the people and achieving SDGs. That's something for us to look at. But while we do this, we need to be very, very careful. There is always this disconnection with lack of financial education. We talk about security a lot, because if we cannot ensure a secure environment for our users, then there won't be any point of like offering different services. And again, similar to the agriculture and ICTs, it's also important to see that identifying disconnected applications. The mobile applications, no matter what we do, if it's for fintech, that's good, but it has to be something that addresses the need of the local people. And we need to make sure that it's not exclusive. It needs to be inclusive of all the people so that we do not create a new digital divide or a new information divide or a new financial divide. So that's something to look into also. So Right now, if we percolate on this, let's start the other pole, which is very close to my heart, it's ICT and education. Which ICT options are in use for education in your country, university, and region? What are the ones? Let's select whatever that applies. You can choose multiple options. The options are high-speed internet, computers or tablets, mobile phones or smartphones, Zoom, or other learning platforms. Right now, what are the things we're using when it comes to education sector in your university, in your region, in your country? So, Marwan, how many people are actually participating? Do you have any idea? In
In
the
our
poll?
Zoom, we have 250 participants. FB
No, in
Live,
the
we
poll.
have less than 1,000.
Right, right, right. But I'm just wondering how many people actually participate in the poll.
I'll check it later.
Okay. Wow, that is important. That's awesome. So we are looking into the winners are definitely computers and tablets. That was expected. I was actually expecting mobile phones and smartphones to be a bit more, but that is awesome. And it's interestingly a surprise to me to see Zoom to be 28%, but that's totally understandable. That's awesome to look into what are the ways we are accessing internet and what are the ways we are accessing using ICT for education. So that's where we are when we talk about ICT and education. What do we mean by this? Look into these two images that I've been sharing with you on the screen. On the left side, we are looking into a very traditional school. There, somewhere in Asia, every student has a laptop in front of her or him, and they are studying, they're looking into things. And on my right side, I am looking into another school. We may not, again, some parts in Asia, they do not have traditional benches. Like, forget about the laptops. But are they studying? Yes, they are. Look into the infrastructure, the traditional building, and then it's a tin shed. You see disparity, but does that mean the people who are reading and writing on the floor are worse off? I would not think so, because depending on the need, depending on the resources, available resources, depending on the types of pedagogy we are using, technology use can vary. So just having computers, just having ICTs may not ensure, actually will not ensure a good and high quality education. The important thing is that we need to make sure that we empower learners. Actually, in addition to this, I would like to add, we also need to make sure that we are empowering the educators themselves. Both are okay, but at the same time, the important thing is that we use ICT as effectively as education tools. We need to make sure that ICT has the option to transcend geopolitical boundaries, as in when we talk about educational tools, when we talk about designing curriculums, when we talk about providing lectures or receiving lectures, we need to make sure that there are some commonalities that we can, explore. Then we're talking about open courses, we're talking about education management, and definitely beyond traditional classrooms. These are some of the very interesting things to look into when we talk about ICTs and education. But There are a lot of risks that comes within. Many of the things I personally was affected by. I'm actually, in my undergrad, I was a student of computer science. Many of you are in the School of Computer Studies, so I'm very much excited to just share my thoughts and ideas with you. As a public university student of computer science, I had a lot of issues with access to technology. I'm telling you. In many cases, the absence of proper content is there. Operations and maintenance, the huge issue, especially for the emerging economies, in actually everywhere. When we look into just putting ICT, putting some technologies, putting some computer applications somewhere is not good enough. Imagine that all the ICT applications we use in our mobile phones. If we do not get the updates, then we're in trouble. Then service may not be good for us. Lack of teachers, it's a huge thing. You need educators who are capable of providing you customized solutions. And we need also technologies who are friendly towards the educators. It's very important to see, in many cases, the ICT solutions that we have for education are against the women and the minorities. Very many disconnected designs and applications are there. And all the time, not all the time, but many times we have seen, when we talk about technology in education, we talk about computers. Oh, let's put computers in a school and magic will happen. Magic doesn't happen like that. Magic happens with you guys, the students and the teachers, with education content. Technology is just a sidekick of that. So that's something is definitely we need to look into, we need to look further. So what can be the emerging technology trends that we can look into when we talk about ICT? Some of the traditional things we have already talked about. AI is a huge thing. Augmented reality, virtual reality is huge. It's coming. It's coming strong. It's coming in Asia. It's coming in the US. It's coming in Europe, some parts of Europe, and definitely in different parts of Sub-Saharan Africa. We are seeing some of the applications there. We're talking about integrating AI to monitor students' performance, hands-on learning to support. That's now so much important. With many of us are now doing remote learning and remote education. I'll come to with the struggles of it, but this is something, of course, to look into. Then we talk about virtual and augmented reality. This also helps with practical knowledge. This also helps with learning with, more in a more interactive way. That's something to look into. There are different examples. I have talked about it, mentioned it in the slide that further pushes those ideas and thoughts. But these are resource heavy. We are still working in many places to make sure that it can be democratized and it can be a part of everybody, just not the people with high resources. So jumping forward, if we look into right now, the reason I'm not there with you guys in person, and the reason we are all huddling up in Zoom and talking about it, that's actually an opportunity. At the same time, that's also a missed opportunity. But how we are educating ourselves in new normal? I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Let me just share some of the observations. This is where we see that online-only education institutions, they are doing a lot of services. We are seeing traditional universities are actually in the bandwagon, or they are also trying to catch up with different teaching ideas and thoughts, but it's not easy. Whenever we talk about classrooms, whenever we talk about as teachers or as learners, there are certain things which can only be happening through face-to-face conversations in real world. Then how are we replacing those? Or how are we, and if we don't do it right, we're actually displacing those online. So there should be some new guidelines, new ways, new practices that's unique to online education that we need to look into. Sometimes just transferring whatever we do in the real life is not good enough. So that's a struggle. Education platforms are there. We're talking about Zoom. We're talking about Google Hangout, Facebook Live. Khan Academy, Coursera. There are so many others where Google Classroom is there, Canvas is there. These are the more traditional ones, more real stream, but there are so many other struggles. There are so many other things to look into. So we talked about first imagine online education in the new normal. Now let's talk about delivering education in the new normal, right? So these are some of the images from the USA, where I'm right now based in. Look into this. We see some happy faces. We see some kids. I have a 7-year-old who is struggling with his school totally online right now because we have a high infection rate at this point. We're also seeing some music lessons going on. It's happy, right? But there's a lot of struggle. We have a huge connectivity issue, even in different developed countries in the world. We have huge issues with the teachers in terms of being constantly judged by the parents when they're teaching things. We have issues with the kids. Imagine, even with all the resources, nobody to take care of them during the education part, and they're alone in some daycare using mask and in front of a laptop. How can you concentrate on these things? So yes, we can deliver, but can we ensure that people are learning? That's an open-ended question. That's something I would love to explore more as a researcher, as a parent, as a citizen, because this is so humbling experience for me. Now imagine this. We are talking about just not all hunky-dory. On the top left, of course, you have a headphone, you have iPad, you have good connections, you are happy. Imagine the teachers where I am innovating ways to make sure I can show my blackboard, or the education being broadcasted through TV. And if I miss the lecture, what would happen to me? If the electricity is gone, what would happen to me? And the bottom right is actually taken from your country. One of the very interesting innovations of using text messages to provide education and bypassing high-speed internet. Amazing innovation. I was so inspired by that. But at the same time, you can only do this much. But there are so many ways to do things. There are so many ways to apply, and there are so many ways we are struggling to have a look into. And there are other universities like the university I'm with, Arizona State University. We have now ASU for You, where we are providing specifically for online and offline. So there is a bridge for doing that. But what we are looking into is that we need to be flexible when we are talking about solutions, about delivering education in the new normal. We are talking about hybrid solutions, talking about multi-platform approach. There should be a handshake between online and offline combination. We should just not go for high-end technologies. No, we should not. We should have a multimodal approach, using radio, using newspaper, using TVs. But at the same time, definitely let's try to use TikTok. Let's try to use emo, things like that. We have seen innovations, things like that. Search in the internet, you have it already. There are some amazing videos and some very disturbing ones, of course, but are there when it comes to education. And we are also seeing the evolving part of pedagogy, ensuring interactions, ensuring feedback. I myself, as a professor for a decade and a half, I struggle a lot. I am more into in-person communication. But now, how can I make sure that I'm talking to the people? If you know some tips and tricks, I would love to hear from you guys. We're talking about more learner-centric approach. That's very crucial. We need to, and the thing that's more important is, let's forget about, in many cases, grades, numbers, and GPAs, if we have to, especially for school-based education. And let's look into achieving learning goals and outcomes, whether we can achieve it. Because when we talk about exams, also the proctoring comes in, the verification comes in, the security comes in, and so many other things comes in. So that becomes very, very crucial. But while we do this, while we look into the education in the new normal, designing it, delivering it, going through the experience, and so many other things, it's just one education, right? We're also looking for, we are doing work online, we're doing businesses online, at least we're trying to. The whole thing in this new normal is forcing us to be digital. We are creating a lot of our digital footprints, right? No matter whether we want, we are online. Even sometimes we feel like we are not online, but we are still online. In either way, our digital presence are there. And if that's the case, remember the first poll that we had? Do we know why we kept our first digital device? That comes in. How it's related with sustainable development? Of course it is. Because first of all these devices also create, if we don't use it, e-waste. That's a hardware specific environmental issues, but also e-waste in a virtual world. All our data is there. So in the new normal, a lot of our more data are there. That's where I need to ask you two questions. And I apologize if it kind of depresses you, but eventually we'll end this in a happy note. In your opinion, who owns and controls our digital data when we talk about social media accounts, messenger services, videos? Who owns it after our death? What do you think? Is it my family? We, as in individuals, our government, online service providers, third party, or nobody? Poof, it's just gone with us dead. What do we think about it? This is a bit non-traditional question for many of us, but I would love to have your thoughts and ideas on this, because it became so important, our digital footprints in this new normal, that I was talking to Sir Marlon and I was like, let's actually try to do something a bit different when we talk about SDGs and ICTs. So that's my first question related with that. I hope we would love to have your thoughts and ideas on this. No one? Okay. Our family, nobody wants our family to control our data, seems like. Ourselves, that's a good hope. Online service providers, third party, that's good. And nobody. This is interesting. I'll definitely come back to it. Okay, thank you, sir. Now, let's go to the next poll. Do we consider death while managing our digital presence? Opening up a social media account, uploading a personal video, sending online messages. It's very depressing. Why should we think about death when we are doing these things? Why should we think about death when we are, checking in somewhere, having fun? But somehow, do we do this? So Marlon, I hope that you are also participating.
Yes, fine.
So what would be the result? Do we have the result? No, we're not thinking about it. Sometimes, okay. Yes, the 22% people who are saying that you guys are using it, this is amazing. Please reach out to me. I would love to know why you are doing this. but you are definitely advanced user. I hope that. But majority of us, we are not thinking about it. Sometimes maybe, but we are not. So let's move on in terms of why on earth Dr. Fahim Hussain is asking these weird questions. Because it's very important, especially in the new normal, to think about our afterlife, digital afterlife. So whatever we do in our daily use of digital media, we actually leave parts of our presence in the digital format, in the cyberspace. We are talking about our mails, our Facebook posts, our online services, our iTunes, there are so many things, no matter what. Our Snapchats, our WhatsApp messages. And after our biological death, these remnants are there. They exist in the cyberspace, and these all together is our digital afterlife. But why should we worry about it? Because data has value. If we do not manage our resources, other people will. By default, the ownership of our data belongs to either the digital services we're using or the third party. Unfortunately, we do not have any rules and regulations specifically in all the emerging economies, majority of the countries, not all of Asia Pacific, of all countries in sub-Saharan Africa. We do not just talk about that. We do not know who manages our data. Like we know, but we have not done anything about it. USA is trying to talk a bit on that. There are some policies. The European Union has some, but still it's a lot of confusion. So when we are talking about mourning the deceased, imagine for COVID, for so many other things, what are the social norms, cultural norms, practices, expectations that we have? Now imagine my presence is already there and somebody else is using my account or somebody else is creating my own persona with AI, then how it's going to affect our social norms and cultures? Should we and how we can consider the privacy of the deceased? How are we ensuring the value of data? Who is responsible for any kind of breaking in? And who has the identity? Imagine there are so many things. Now look into this. One of the predictions that we have. Facebook, as we speak, right now it's the biggest social media network, and it will have way more dead people with accounts unattended than the living. So I had a paper on, I wrote a paper on this, digital afterlife and the walking dead. And that's why I talked about all these challenges that comes within and why it's important. When we talk about inclusive innovations, when we talk about sustainable development using digital technologies and in digital space, it's very important for us to know that we value our data, we have the good policies at hand that can help us, and we as citizens, we as netizens, we as young people, millennials, zennials, we are aware of these things. There's no, it doesn't mean to scare you, but we need to raise awareness. We need to talk about it, we need to think about it. And then we need to have our voice, our implications, and our perceptions reflected in the policy that governs our data when we are living and when we are dead. So prioritizing users' consent is crucial. We need to have localized solutions for such global phenomena. And this is something that is not included yet in any kind of digital technology development policies, which needs to be there as a value of data proposition, in addition to the privacy, safety, security. Imagine the devices that we left. Imagine the devices that we are using right now. And who gets those devices? Who have the access? So that's something I would like to just focus in addition to the sustainable development goals, because I think it's crucial in the new normal for us to look into. In the School of Future of Innovation, we look into it a lot as we believe the future is for everyone. That's something, so that's in order to ensure sustainable development for all, digital presence also need to be equitable and through a lot of justice and participation. So many of these issues, futuristic and present issues, and many of the other issues, I cannot say enough on this. You will get a lot of those things in the training programs, in the e-learning modules, and the info bank of UNFPC ICT. As a researcher, before even started working with this amazing organization, I have been using the resources a lot. So please make sure to go to this website, explore these things. That can be something for you to look into. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me now, later. This is a real world picture. It's not staged. It happens to me all the time when my 7-year-old wants to spend time with me when I'm in a very important meeting. So this is just a collage of my daily life. There is a reason I'm in the office right now, because if I were back home at night, that may happen. So that's how our professional and personal life are getting overlapped. But I would love to take some questions if possible right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Fahim.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Hussein. I hope you all enjoyed the amazing presentation of our speaker. Still a pleasant morning to our participants and viewers as well. Good morning, Tarlac State University, and to you, Dr. Hussein, good morning there. Now, Dr. Hussein will answer some questions that were sent to us during the presentation. So we have here, let's move on with the first question, Dr. Hussein. Let me read the first question. Are there organizations considering the digital afterlife? And he has a follow-up question. How can we, as private individual, consider digital afterlife?
That's a very important question. Thank you so much for asking. No. So in terms of until now, there is a lot of research going on. If you search, especially in the US and some parts of Europe, at least in the last 5 years, many people are talking about digital afterlife, but it's a highly academic conversation. Since 2009, the big organizations, individual service providers, are providing some sort of a provisions on digital afterlife, like, memorialization of the account or having supported like connections for account in Gmails and other things. But there's no individual conversation going on. And this is something that I would like to initiate through my university and others to have conversation between the citizens and different organizations. So at this point, it's at individual level. That's one. So as private, as individuals, how we can consider this? First of all, we need to be aware of where we are providing our information. And at the same time, first of all, definitely there are a lot of room to improve, but we still should make sure that whatever is there, we get hold of those services. For example, we need to have our memorialization provision done. So Facebook has options for that. Google has options for that. So at least in our absence, what can happen so that we nominate some people who can manage those things. These are not foolproof. I'm not saying that. And with the COVID-19 things, there are a lot of businesses coming up as well that kind of give services to this. But still, what we are seeing as a problem, first of all, these are all global, not centric. For us, the Asia-Pacific region, or for Sub-Saharan Africa and others, there hasn't been none. So the best we can do right now is to just first get used to and get the services, whatever they have, and then raise our voice and concern.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Hussein. I totally agree to you. We have here the follow-up question. Is it possible to monetize personal data after life?
Yes, and that's one of the reasons it's at risk. Because imagine, it's an interesting question to have. Who gets the money of our, say, influencers, digital influencers, when they're dead? Now, imagine we have copyright-related issues for our, other digital content stuff. But when it comes to digital influencing, when it comes to like these kind of responsibility and jurisdiction is also very important. Who gets the money and where? And is it, imagine there's a Filipino celebrity and now the platform is in US, but we're using the server in Europe, and then I am watching it from some parts in Africa. Who gets the money and how once he or she is dead? So that's something we don't know the answer to. But it is definitely possible. It is definitely possible to monetize it. And we're seeing this. We're seeing even after some people are dead, when we have case studies on that, I've been working on it, that after some people are dead, people are, like the families trying to manage it and getting the money. But sometimes sometimes the hackers are doing it. So yeah, that's a risk.
Yes, I couldn't agree more because that recently happened when a famous influencer here in the Philippines died, and a lot of questions are coming up from the fan of the influencer, and they're asking if would the family manage it still, something like that. So it's very confidential. So I truly agree with you, Dr. Hussein. So we have here another question from our participant. Can the family of the deceased choose to delete the digital data of their deceased family members?
Yes and no. If you have some provisions, there are some certain services, again, these are US-centric and European-centric services, predominantly US-centric services. And if you be their customer, they will manage your data. And in your absence, after your death, you can actually nominate somebody to manage it. They can delete some, but you need to understand, the moment we upload stuff online, the ownership is shared. Many of our ownership is shared. So unless otherwise you explicitly mention things, people can use your images. There has been some very disturbing cases where we have seen there was a soldier killed in action of like US Army, and then there's a dating site who used his image for their ad. And when the family objected, the dating site said, hey, this is our property. We can do whatever with that. So there are some confusions there as well. But yes, there are some provisions where you can do that, but it's not foolproof yet. You are muted.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hussein, for your answers to the questions. Let me ask this. Do you have other questions to our dear speaker? If you have if you intend to ask it personally to our speaker, please turn on your mic and camera so we can recognize you.
So people are, I scared people off.
All right, Dr. Hussein, we have here a question. In the age of misinformation, like what you said a while back, how do we combat fake news and deep fake? Especially these misinformation are being used as a political propaganda.
I would say, as researchers, use a lot of verification. There are different sites now that we can look into to verify things. And so first of all, we need to control our urge of sharing whatever, whenever we see this. We need to just, get hold of ourselves, because we are actually not getting, unless we are like influencers, very few are like that. As normal people, we should not just share before verification stuff. And the interesting part is sharing, verification does not happen with one sort of things. Like, for example, you need to have access to multiple different school of thoughts to see whether that happens. In addition to this, that's a lot of hard work, but there are now a lot of fact-checking websites, and that these are easy, these are available, that I think we need to get hold of. And the other rule of thumb I always try to practice myself is, when it's too good to be true, it's not true. So it's if it's something that happens, it's something, oh, that thing, you need to check. For example, I'll tell you, my childhood hero, Diego Armando Maradona, rest in peace, he died. And when I heard that, I first checked with multiple websites before I did something, because, you know, this is 2020, anything can happen.
Yes, sir. I couldn't agree more to you. Thank you so much, Dr. Hussein. I think there are no other questions from our participants, and they're very satisfied with your presentation. Thank you, Dr. Hussein. Now, let me hand over the floor to our host.
Thank you, Sir Cerces and Dr. Hussein. And to give us a closing remark, may I call on Dr. Nines B. Tulo, Office of International Affairs Unit Head, International Short-Term Programs.
Thank you, Madam MC. To our reputable speaker, Dr. Farim Hussein, to our Vice President for Administration and Finance, and the Dean of the College of Computer Studies, Dr. Marlon Gamido, to my colleagues from the College of Computer Studies, to our students and the rest of the participants in today's lecture, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us today. In behalf of the Office of International Affairs, allow me to congratulate all of you for making this event possible. It is my joy to give this speech to this remarkable lecture, which is intended to shape and define the future in terms of ICT. Though, of course, partly, it's a sad task to close the door of this inspiring discourse and bid farewell to all of you. May I express our appreciation to everyone, most especially to our dear lecturer who willingly shared his knowledge and time for free. We are truly honored to have with us, though virtually, an ally of the United Nations. Thank you, Dr. Farim. I know that you will all agree with me that our speaker's topic is one of the most important issues that need to be prioritized in our new normal setup. We take this occasion as a privilege at this time when everything, including education, is a challenge to meet the requirements of the demands of time in the most innovative and efficient pedagogical practices, that of quality and access. Our annual international lecture series only proves that Tarlac State University is doing its best to give quality distance learning. The university will not allow academics and exposure to international mobility to surrender to this COVID-19 pandemic. Students' learning continues. Our teaching continues. The academic service support continues. Staff support continues. And our operations continue for our dear students. With those few remarks, let me officially close this lecture and encourage the CCS community to continue establishing international linkages and collaborations. The whole purpose of this quarantine time is to keep as many of us safe and healthy as possible. Let us stay home and stay safe so that everything can return to normal as quickly as possible. For our next international lecture series, we are hoping to see all of you in person. Thank you, God bless, and have a good day ahead of you.
Thank you, Ma'am. To conclude this lecture, let me quote UNAPC ICT. ICT alone is simply a tool. If it works for people and when people know how to use it, ICT transforms our hopes into reality. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day.